we need whatever help we can get.
Right now on Off Script, we're looking into what a lot of people in Prince George's County are talking about tonight, a summer of violence in the county. We're talking 12 people killed in the past 11 days. Hello, everybody. I'm Bruce Johnson. Thanks for joining us on Off Script. Police are beefing up patrols, but on Off Script, we've learned there is more to the explanation for an uptick in these homicides, and we're going to get to that a little bit ahead. First, here's Prince George's County Police Chief Hank Stawinski.
Most of them, again, are disputes between known individuals that devolve rapidly into violence. That's why we're bringing all of the resources of the agency to bear. Some officers currently work a 10-hour shift, some work a 8-hour shift, and what we're doing is extending whatever that shift may be to 12 hours. This is a temporary and a measured response to what we've seen.
We need whatever help we can get.
I want everybody out here to be safe.
We need people to put down the guns. We need them to take a breath.
Now, we've had Chief Stawinski on before, and we invited him here tonight, but he had a prior commitment. Lots of chat on social media about the slayings. Brian Hubbard lives in Prince George's County. He's a Facebook friend, a retired D.C. police officer, and Brian is asking a question on Facebook. Does Black Lives Matter movement only matter when a police officer kills someone of color? And are we ignoring the killings every day in our own communities because it's black-on-black killings? He's getting a lot of response to this. Here are some of what people have to say. Carl McDonald said, no, the killings aren't getting ignored. They're just being accepted. Tanya Bush said, wow, now that's some food for thought. Black lives should matter, even with black-on-black crimes. Kimberly said, the difference is when someone is killed in the community and you call the police, and if they catch the suspect, then it's more likely they will be prosecuted. However, when the police is doing the unlawful killings, who can you call? I weighed in also. Again, Brian's a friend. There is no one reason for the black-on-black killings. Poverty, too easy an explanation. Most poor people don't kill people. A lack of values, mental health issues, drugs, alcohol, and a love of money all contribute, in my humble opinion. Blacks don't just kill blacks because they're blacks any more than whites kill whites because they're white. By the way, Brian Hubbard retired as a lieutenant in the D.C. Police Department, and he once headed the mayor's security detail. Hillary Shelton is the director of the NAACP Washington Bureau. Your take on all of this?
Well, brother, first, it's good to be here. There are many things we have to talk about as we look on black crimes and other issues. And I really appreciate the question that was asked in the context of police officers shooting unarmed African Americans and others that brought us to the point of outrage, in which marches and demonstrations happen in every place from Ferguson, Missouri, to right here in Washington, D.C. All that's very important, looking at all these issues. But there are a number of things we have to take into consideration. This is a broad problem that requires a very comprehensive solution. We know it's not any one reason, but we know there's some things that tie it all together. Number one, most of these killings are done with guns. But we're not talking about the role guns play. Perhaps the NRA has been that effective. Perhaps the dealers associations or others have been that effective at being able to take it out of the scenario. But we have to talk about the easy access to guns. Studies were done to show what would people do if they didn't have access to that gun at the time.
We're talking access to illegal guns.
Or guns, period.
Guns, period.
Because we have to talk about them in many different categories and how people get them. They're so easy to get right now that you can't just leave it to just legal guns and the like. But nonetheless, they asked the same question. What would you do if you didn't have it? Well, they said they grabbed the first thing they could to throw at it, and many of them that use guns under those circumstances wish they hadn't. As we're talking about these issues, we know we're losing too many lives, and it costs not only those families, but those communities much more than we've been able to measure so far.
Okay, and you know the gun rights advocates are going to say guns aren't the problem, people with the guns are the problem, and how they're using the guns.
Well, exactly.
And we're talking, and legal guns we're talking. Illegal guns, everybody I think would agree, that's a bad thing.
We've got to deal with that and whatnot, and deal with the fact that too often what are considered legal guns in these circumstances really should have been given to that person in the first place.
Okay.
But the fight has to be on for us to address this issue in a comprehensive way. When desperate scenarios are created in poor and otherwise challenged communities, when the only thing that's being dumped in those communities to be helped for is easier access to guns, we end up with these kind of outcomes that we have to stop.
Oh, okay, we've been doing some digging here. Here's what the Prince George's County Police Chief is not saying or can't say because these cases we've been talking about are still under investigation. We've been doing some digging, talking to some sources. 3 of the 12 people shot may have been killed in the act of committing crimes themselves. 2 of the dead men were found with a mask on and guns in their hands inside somebody else's home. According to our sources, these were home invasions. Prince George's County Police can't confirm, but our sources also say 8 of the 12 people killed had serious criminal records. Now, one of them may have been killed by a person he was actually trying to rob. Only one of the 12 slayings in the past 2 weeks, according to our sources, remains a total mystery. And we're talking about the Beltway slaying of 55-year-old Adriano Lambre. Your take on that? Criminal records. A lot of people would argue we're talking choices here, lifestyle. The majority of people in Prince George's County don't have anything to worry about. This has nothing to do with them.
Well, unless they're caught in the crossfire, of course, and that happens too often as well. As we know, we just had a 13-month-old kid caught in the crossfire being shot in their car seat in the car. So we have a big problem in our society with gun violence and murders that are going on. And in terms of looking at this wave that's going on in Prince George's County, we want to dig a little bit deeper. We want to find out exactly what's happening in these circumstances in which you have those that have criminal records. But we haven't talked about what those criminal records are.
Right. And
keeping in mind within the African-American community, criminal records are something that go way further than they should. And the vast majority of those are for non-violent, mostly drug-related offenses.
What do you think of the chief's response? He's got officers on 12-hour shifts. There's police presence now. That's what we got.
I think it's very helpful, and I think he put it in the right terms. This is a temporary solution. The chief said that very well. While the temporary solution is in place, we cannot maintain that level of police presence in those communities as we have right now. It just simply cannot be maintained. We're going to have to find a way to actually solve the problem and make sure first that the desire to utilize those guns and the way they're being used to kill these people, and again, all these people were killed with guns. It has to be addressed.
The chief cannot maintain officers on 12-hour shifts. County can't afford it.
That's right.
That is not the solution.
That's exactly right.
So he does this for a period of time to ease the tension that's out there, and then what?
And then we have to go to the full force solution. Number one, we do have some issues we're going to have to address with police officers as we tie the two of these together. There are still too many Americans in our society that don't trust the police to be able to provide that protection. They're afraid that they're going to be overly aggressive with the use of force and those kind of things. We can fix that problem too. There are a number of solutions the NAACP has recommended along those lines. We're going to have to talk about the desperate situations these Americans find themselves in. Is it a lack of jobs? Is it other things that affect them in those communities?
Okay, and we've been encouraged, Prince George's County residents to ask these tough questions. We know it's an election year, so you've got their ears, you've got their attention to ask these tough questions. Okay?
And then we've got to follow through on it as well.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for your time.
As always, it's good to be here.